Andrew, we'll start with you. Has the last couple of weeks really set in yet? Has it sunk in, or is it too early?
I mean, it definitely has been a crazy last couple of weeks, kind of with just going through the playoffs and winning Whip-Heels and then going on to win state. So it's been very eventful the last couple of weeks, but it's starting to set in a lot, I guess, this week because it's kind of getting that time off before I go back to basketball. So I've kind of had some time just to kind of sit back and take some of it in.
David, as a parent, what emotions are you going through watching from the stands over the last month or so?
I just enjoy watching the boys, my son compete at a high level. Fortunate that not only I get to enjoy watching him play, as I was the middle school principal at Pine-Richland, and I know all the boys on the team, and so I get this really sense of satisfaction seeing the hard work that goes into, preparing to compete in the 6A football program. So I enjoy it. I think seeing last year's run in the basketball was something that kind of sparked the fire, I think, in a lot of people.
Now, did you guys, and your wife included, did you guys have a special moment afterwards, after Saturday?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously after the game, they all came down to the fence. I had a whole bunch of family members, like grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. So it was cool to get to spend that time with them. And then back at the team hotel afterwards, they kind of had a party for all the players and family. So it was cool. They had been able to come to most of the playoff games. So, but obviously being in Hershey, that's kind of the biggest one, so that was the most special, and really the only time that we got to spend time after the game with our families, because most of the time we just get on the bus and go, but we stayed the night in Hershey, so we had kind of that time to hang out with everyone too.
You'll enter your final season at Pine-Richland. It's probably one of the top two, Whip-Heel recruits. Is there pressure to live up to that expectation?
I mean, there's definitely kind of like being under that microscope, but like my dad had said earlier, he was my middle school principal, so I've kind of had that microscope maybe in a different perspective early on. So now it's kind of shifted for different reasons, but it's still kind of there. So it's something that you have to get used to, but it's kind of been with me and a lot of my teammates for so long. That's kind of just part of our daily routines almost at this point.
The guy you protected the last couple of years, Phil, he's been in a similar role, a very highly profiled recruit. What do you learn from his recruitment process?
Definitely a lot. I mean, Phil and I are good friends, so we've talked about a lot of different things, and it's just kind of enjoying it, but also realizing that with kind of all the attention, it comes a lot of people that are looking for the bad to come to, so it's just making sure you're even smarter than you normally would have to be about certain things.
Is that the best advice he's given you?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of get bounce stuff off each other, but definitely just making sure we do what we need to do and just kind of the greater good for our teams and stuff.
David, when did you realize that Andrew, wasn't the typical high school football player, that there was a future in football beyond this?
I don't know if I have a good answer. I just know he enjoys competing. Last year, I saw that he was able to play well as a sophomore without a lot of the strength that it takes when you're playing against a kid like Thorpe that went to Penn State last year. And I see Andrew getting in front of him and using his athleticism to really compete with him, even though the C.J. Thorpe was much stronger. I thought that there was an opportunity for him to play at the Division I level. So I guess probably last year.
You've been through this process yourself. What has changed the most about it?
Well, my process was a little different. It was years and years ago, and I actually was a preferred walk-on at the University of Pittsburgh, and after a couple seasons I did earn a scholarship and got to play at the University of Pittsburgh in letter for a couple years and was a starter. And so my process was much different. Growing up in Western PA in 1980s, University of Pittsburgh was there wasn't any better program around. And so growing up as a kid, I was certainly excited about the University of Pittsburgh. And when I was playing at Knock High School, I just made the decision that's where I was going to go, and I wasn't a highly recruited player at all. So,
what advice can you give him as a parent throughout this process?
Well, we don't talk a lot of football, technique and things like that. My advice to him is to enjoy the moment and have fun. I think that he has a lot of excellent coaches here. His offensive line coach, Coach Sasson, really taught him a lot of great technique, and Coach Miller, his defensive line coaches. I don't want to leave any of the other coaches out, but we have a really excellent coaching staff with Eric Kasparovich, and so I leave that up to them.
But nothing as far as like the actual, the future side of it. Not the football perspective, but the advice of what he should be looking for. The next step in his career, as a student and professionally. I mean, whether football is not an option down the road.
Just for his future, as we look forward to college, and I'm a middle school principal, and obviously education is really important. So, as we go to look for university, you're looking at the education, thinking about what major he may want to be in, and and play at the highest level he can play at. So, looking for a combination for him, and we just kind of bounce ideas off each other and talk about it. We're pretty open. We've made a lot of trips this year, and so we've had a lot of time in the car to talk about a variety of things. So it's we're both captured, and to get that car time together is kind of nice.
Andrew, for you, for the next 4 years, after next year, I mean, what are you specifically looking for?
Definitely school that is a good academic school, on top of like a top tier program, and somewhere that's college football is like a big deal. So just like a combination of the academics and football at the highest level, and then somewhere that's has a lot of stability and really does truly feel like home.
Several Big Ten schools have offered. Does style or scheme play into your decision at all?
Yeah, a lot of the Big Ten schools kind of run that pro style offense, and are kind of known for like kind of the big linemen that transition well into the NFL. So that's definitely something. So offensive lineman you take into consideration, but there's a lot of schools all over the place that are known for a variety of different things. So it's just kind of finding the best fit for you.
Notre Dame and Michigan both offered in the last week. You're up to 17 offers. Has there been one offer that maybe surprised you more than others? Something you weren't anticipating and it happened?
It definitely is always surprising whenever you finally get that phone call from the coach, like saying they're going to extend that scholarship offer to you. But whether you've never talked to them before, or you've been talking to them for a really long time, or something in between, it's just really humbling and satisfying, I guess, to know that they think so highly of you. So it's exciting.
With Pitt actively recruiting you mentioned stability. What was your reaction to Pat Narduzzi's extension?
I think that's great for the program and for Coach Narduzzi. I've gotten to know him pretty well, and I think he's a great fit for Pitt. I think they've made the right decision with him. I think he's had a first few years there that have been really well and doing a good job there, so I think it was well deserved.
David, being a former Panther, what has impressed you the most about Narduzzi and his coaching staff?
I like to see the energy and passion. I wasn't on Twitter ever before, and being a Pitt football fan, he came and I kind of got on there. And I think he's done a nice job with the young kids, and sending out his pat signals and doing some really nice, exciting things for the University of Pittsburgh. And so I went to the bowl game last year and seeing him pull off a couple huge victories last year, and then getting a nice one at the end of the year this year. And so I think he's building a nice program.
You've said before, to Mike, that this is his decision. Is there any, do you have to fight the temptation to steer him towards Pitt?
No. We all have I had the opportunity to pick a school that I wanted to go to, and I want him to have that same exact opportunity. There's no pressure on my end. If he happened to want to go there, certainly would be thrilled and excited for him. I'll be thrilled and excited really wherever he elects to go to school. So I'm just happy that we're in a great program, competing, winning state championships, Whitfield championships, and so we're not thinking so much about college. I mean, the recruitment part's been nice, but really the focus in the last 6-8 weeks have been just totally on high school football.
So we hop into basketball season. Once that's wrapped up, what's the schedule for the spring and summer? More recruiting trips, training?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as basketball is over, I'll probably take a week off from basketball and then hop back right into off-season workouts and get ready for senior year. But as far as recruiting stuff goes, plan to take a couple of start taking official visits as soon as possible in April, and kind of along the way, I know the dead period's coming up, so kind of take some time now that football is done to, on our end, kind of do some research about the schools that have reached out and offered to this point, and kind of get some things figured out on my end.
After winning the state championship last Saturday, is there even more motivation now to win it in basketball, especially after coming so close last year? Yeah,
so last year's loss in the state championship really, for Phil and I, we were both on that team, and obviously both played football, so that really motivated us to make sure we get back and got it done for football, and really ending our season undefeated and with the state championship. It's kind of we're both kind of itching to get back to basketball. I know I am, just because kind of ended on such a high note, kind of want to carry all that momentum and energy back to the basketball team. So, and definitely we fell a little bit short last year, and we feel like we have a very, very good team back this year that, again, if we play well and we play to our capabilities, and we can win against any team that we play. So we feel confident in ourselves this year, even though we had lost some kids, but it's exciting.
From a football standpoint, what are you trying to work on between now and the start of next season?
Getting bigger, faster, and stronger is something never can be done working on. Obviously can always improve in strength and speed, so those are things that are not easy, but things that are always able to be improved.
Yeah, how proud are you of him?
Oh, I'm extremely proud of being a good student, being an athlete that works, and I really saw a spark this year. He was asking me to help and get some extra training in, doing some running. We were trying to prepare for the upcoming camps and just doing some simple cone drills, running a few 40s, things like that. So we just did a little bit of extra work on a few Saturdays, and it was initiated by him. So I'm obviously proud of him and his work and desire to compete at the highest level.
Did you guys race in the 40? Or?
No. I don't want to embarrass him.
No. I think the only thing that I can compete in maybe is bench at this point. The legs they're not very strong anymore.
Mm-hmm. And then final question, Andrew, any idea when you'll be narrowing your list, or is it still too early?
No, I don't really have any plans right now. Like I said earlier, during the whole football season, the entire focus was on winning, and then getting to the state championship and winning that. So now that it's kind of over, I'm going to take some time now during basketball season and after basketball season is over to really start thinking about and trying to make a decision, but there's no rush to make one. I want to make sure whenever I do make one, I'm comfortable with it, and there's going to be no looking back from there.